Greetings and hello. Feminists love to claim that men control every facet of everyday life, and that we live in a so-called patriarchy. Their rhetoric is that men use their power to oppress and rule over helpless women who have no defense against them. They love to claim that women have no power at all, and are in a state of constant fear of men. They make it seem that because men are forced to work by women and are deselected if they do not do so, that men hold all the power within a society. Their assertions are not true, as this is directly contradicted by the prominence and power of the feminist movement. The previous assertions by feminists are just smears and attacks against men, and are an expression of female social dominance. Women smear and guilt men into doing services for them under the threat of removing the limited affections that they entice the man with. This keeps men chasing and trying to appease a woman like a rabbit with a carrot stick dangling right in front of its nose. Unfortunately, this begins in the household with mothers pushing such narratives as they benefit themselves, and the father complying for the aforementioned reasons. Let's break down the feminist lies one by one. Starting with patriarchy, even though men are at the top of most corporate ladders and leadership, this does not mean they hold the power. They are just figureheads to do the bidding that women want them to. These so-called leaders are controlled by the same women that regular men are, so they are no different to being their lapdogs. It is like a high-status person who lives in the royal palace telling the serfs who live in the fields that they control everything, since they make the food. A second smear against men is that men oppress women every chance they get. This is false on so many levels. Men support women by allowing them to stay at home with the children, a relatively easy job compared to the husband's work week. They also give free privileges and advantages to women over men, like being prioritized in an emergency and treating their crimes far lighter. Feminists say women are oppressed to smear men and make the privileges that women already have seem not enough. If women were truly being oppressed as feminists claim, they would not even have the right to speak, much less have centralized platforms. They would also be the ones being conscripted and sent to war. Women would be slaving away and working to support men, while receiving nothing in turn from them. This is, of course, just a small list of examples of what would be if we live in the fantasy that feminists claim. In short, women would be as abused and attacked as men are in this timeline. How else can feminist women spout the man hatred they do if not for themselves having the power? If a man were to say the exact things that feminist women say about men, then he would have the police knocking on his door in moments. This exactly demonstrates who holds the power, the ruling caste. The higher caste is able to abuse and mistreat the lower caste without any repercussions. This is what these women are doing to innocent men, lying and attacking them out of spite. Feminists direct and control the most prominent institutions on earth, whether those be religion, corporate, or governmental. They are able to influence any conglomerate in order to align their message through social coercion. Even the influence of money does not have this power, as companies are willing to lose money to pander to feminists. This is just showing what influence and power that women have in any place of society. This comes from their willingness and eagerness to deselect and socially ostracize any man who tries to speak up for himself. Any labeling that feminists give men and accuse men of doing is a lying smear. It is from a totally false framing meant to attack and gaslight men. This is to keep the power centralized towards women, usurping men's autonomy to provide for privileges for themselves. Women know that they in fact have privilege, which is demonstrated by them exploiting it in every way. Men are the ones that are attacked by the feminist movement, not women, as some derailers may claim. While it is true that the feminist movement treats girls as the property of their mother, and that some women are the victims of occurrences like the trope of women cannot rape, thus letting female perpetrators who assault female victims off the hook, the main thing is that women as a collective still have social dominance. Adult women as a collective always precede everything, as the goal of the feminist movement is to retain collective female privilege over the male sex, no matter if a couple women get caught in the crossfire. This is going to be a topic of a future video of how the goal is for society to punish the man no matter what, as I am already starting to drift away from the main point. Starting with the family unit, women have absolute control over it, while the father is not even afforded the basic right to see his children. Women control the father through lying and doses of short-term affection, in order to keep him slaving away. If the woman starts doing something that is objectionable with the children, then the father has no say in taking the children to a healthy environment. Due to society's gynocentrism and thus mother worship, mothers are exempt from all blame, and everything is placed on the father due to the false frame of male hyperagency. Women also divorce and kick the real father out and attack him with lies via parental alienation, as women are the ones doing the kicking. A second detail is that women are also always believed no matter how outlandish their accusations sound. Women can make false claims about men, and they will automatically be believed due to an inherent bias supporting females. This bias never favors men because men are the out group who society deems to only be useful for serving women. Women have an in-group bias that men do not, as they support one another and come together to serve their own interests. Men have an out-group bias, which means that they prefer women over other men, and this translates to believing the lies that these women tell and attacking other men, or else women who have an in-group bias will collectively deselect them. Women are also over 80% of consumer spenders, which means that the vast majority of purchases are made by them. So women also dictate the economy and where money flows, thus also influencing companies and government policies as a result. This is to keep the government pandering to them and giving them more privileges. This also debunks the idea that men control the economy and that it is built for men. Men are selected because they serve women's interests in their ability to produce and create goodies for them. Women are also in control of friend groups, even among men. The vast majority of male friend groups center around networking and gaining status in order to try to up their chances of getting a girl. Thus, if a woman wants to be let into the friend group, the men will be overjoyed and accept her. When a woman comes in or wants to become involved, she is doing so to receive attention from men and to demonstrate her social power. This will inevitably result in backstabbing in the group, as the men stumble over one another to try and shower the woman with privilege, as attempts to get with her. This is due to women not wanting to be with men who do not show themselves to be attack dogs. Meaning that a woman does not want a man who won't give her privilege in some way and serve her. If a man cannot provide this, then a woman will not date him point blank. So men are not the main driver behind this kind of male-on-male hostility. It is the women who force men to be this way in order so that the woman keeps her privileges and power over him, and the man has to follow her orders to still be with her, and the cycle repeats. So yes, women do oppress men through their social dominance. They control men with false promises of affection and sex, and the man, filled with gynocentric ignorance and self-loathing, follows it. Men are bombarded with this rhetoric from a very young age, and it is imprinted into the subconscious as everything in this anti-male society spreads the false lie that women are oppressed. This is the biggest lie ever told, and what keeps men abused and harmed on a very large scale.